This is episode 10, and our topic for the night is haunted houses. Know before you go how to have the best time in a haunted house.
And before we really get into this, I gotta say I'm kind of disappointed we're not ending on episode 13.
Right?
I thought about that earlier. I was like, damn, we'd have to do 3 more.
We
Yeah.
tried.
Oh well. So yeah, we're doing Know Before You Go and how to have a great time.
How to have a great time. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to have fun. I mean, it's entertainment, right? So the whole idea is to have fun.
Gotta have fun. Gotta survive the haunted house, and you gotta get the most bang for your buck. How to make the most out of your haunted house trips. So yeah, right here before season, we thought that'd be a really great time to push out an episode like this.
And
yeah, I think
us
so.
here at the Scare Factor think that a lot of times customers have bad experiences at haunts because they actually just went to the wrong style of haunt for them.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's your first time, maybe don't go to see Hurting because you're going to be hurting. So you just touched on the first thing, Nora. What type of haunted house? And so the first question that you really need to be answering before you go to any haunt or any sort of interactive theater, such as a haunt, is what type of haunt you want to go to.
It's the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. And yeah, one of those is what, as in what type of haunted house are you going to?
Right.
So what are some of the different
a whole
types?
Bunch. Well, my favorite are the ones that are buried deep underground. You got to take an elevator, and it's super dark, and there's actual monsters. But I don't think we have that on our list.
No, I haven't. Haven't been able to find one like that yet.
Oh man,
there's a movie I think about it.
I
don't think we've found it.
If you ask Jose's sister's grandma's boyfriend, he will tell you that the haunted house exists.
He will.
Yes, and he'll tell you there's 13 floors and they're all underground.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you get your money back when you get all the way through.
Yeah, but you can't fall for any of the trick exits.
No, you can't check it out.
So first of all, to all of our haunt goers that are listening, if anyone tells you about a haunt with 13 floors, that either you get your money back, yes, or anything like that. We've heard they have real snakes, they hit people with baseball bats. It's a lie. Do not go looking for this haunted house.
No, the one that has real snakes does exist.
Yeah, that's true, but
did exist. Yeah. It was a home haunt here in a suburb of Syracuse. It's called Ravens. Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble because I can't remember the name of it. It was Raven something.
Raven's Curse or
no.
It wasn't. Shit, it wasn't that one. There are a bunch of haunts that actually use real snakes, though. Yeah, I think Hell's Gate uses them. We've ran into a couple people at some conventions that have them, and they carry them around their haunts.
Down in Nashville.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The real snakes is a real thing.
That's the big rumor around here, though. It's always the people hit you with bats and the snakes are in the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Well, I don't know. You guys are pretty close to West Virginia, so those snake handlers are out there.
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Danger noodles. So some of the different types of haunts that we mainly categorize on our website anyway are amusement theme parks. Like your Six Flags, your Universal, those kind of things. Cedar Point.
They're haunted houses that take place at amusement parks.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
And then we have boats. Yes, there are actually haunted boats.
The Queen Mary, too.
The Queen Mary's included. There's USS Nightmare down here in Newport, Kentucky. There's several of them up around the Great Lakes. Well, lots of cool haunted boats to go check out. Similarly, not on land, but under land, there are caves. Yes, there are some real caves that take place underground, which is very cool. Some of them are actual caves. Some of them are man-made mines, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So those are always cool to see a haunt underground. There are also some charity haunts, which donate at least a portion of their proceeds to some event. Some type of charity, a cause that they believe in, which is always cool. Some of them do like their local animal shelters or for Crusade for Children, that kind of thing. So that's always good.
And for what it's worth, the show that shall not be named does actually not ask for money. They ask for a large bag of dog food because the rescues greyhounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, it's a great cause. I don't know if it's a great
I don't know
product,
why
but it's a great cause.
I don't know why they're doing what they're doing, but it's a great cause.
Right? Yeah, totally agree. Next one on the list is a haunted farm, and this one could be any number of things. We usually call a farm basically a multiple attraction haunt that has like a barn and a cornfield and a hayride and that kind of thing. We call those haunted farms, but any one of those three that we mentioned, like the barn and the cornfield and uh, the hayrides, those could all be individual attractions outside of a farm as well. So those all kinds of things exist. Most of those are, we're pretty familiar with the cornfields and the hayrides, but outside of that, you can get into your just standard single haunted house attraction. You show up, walk through one haunt, you leave. That's it. Bingo, bango, bongo. The next one is home haunts / yard haunts. These are usually free attractions that take place at somebody's residential address. Most commonly open 1 or 2 nights or weekends a year. And they usually don't require any type of monetary commitment to go through. Some of them will ask for donations as a donation to help keep their haunt going and keep it built up and help them continue to do it because they're not asking for money. So that's a thing.
And some of them are displays only too, where you can only view from your car on the road.
Yeah, we saw some of those. Somebody would have a circle drive in their drive, so they got to have a haunted drive-through last year, and it was all COVID friendly and everything. So
yeah, for real quick, if you have children, like younger children, and they've never been to a haunted house, and you're wondering if it's something that they may like, a home or yard haunt is probably a very good place to take them to first. So then that way you can show them a pumpkin that talks and see if they're absolutely going to run away from it, or because once you get them in a haunt and they're walking through something, it's a lot harder to get them out of it if they're terrified.
And you can absolutely work your way up the hierarchy of home haunts too, because there's some that are just displays, like we were mentioning, but there's also some that actually create little miniature haunted houses either in their garage or in their backyard or something like that. And they can get pretty darn elaborate. There's one over in California. Is it Beware the Dark Realm? And one of our review teams has been there actually and actually rated it really highly. So there's some pretty high-end home haunts out there. So definitely keep your nose to the ground for those. Grimsley's Gorge is a good one.
They put on an excellent show.
Mm-hmm. So next down after home and yard haunts is multi-attraction haunts. Sometimes these are called scream parks. Like Land of Illusion's one that we're going to be going to here in a few weeks.
Next weekend, yeah.
Next weekend, they've got 5 or 6 different haunts, a huge midway, a stage. It's basically like an amusement park, but it's all for haunted houses, which is really awesome.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a special note that we would like to make on this multiple attractions one that you've got to watch out for because we don't want you getting pissed off. So there are some haunts where we consider multiple attractions as when there have like the multiple queue lines. So you have to wait to go into these separate attractions. Now, there are attractions out there that will say 4 haunts in one and charge you the price of like 3 haunts, and you think you're getting a deal because you're getting 4 for the price of 3. And when you get there, you go through these haunts and you come out, and it still took you 20 minutes, and you're like, well, where's the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th haunt? Well, they have just a single walkthrough, but they advertise them as 4 haunts. So that goes back to the, doing some research on what you're visiting. We'll get into later about FAQ pages and how you can probably find this information there. But just because they're advertised as multiple haunts doesn't mean they actually have like multiple haunts that are separate from one another.
Yeah, right. Even if they are separate, some of them they may or may not have a queue line in between where the different themes start and end. Like a 13th Hour, for example, up in Indy last year, they have quote unquote 3 different haunts, but there was a queue line, like you came to an actual stop at the end of one and then you got in a queue line, and then that was a great way to keep the groups separated as you're going through, which is all fine and dandy. But you can't like choose to go to haunt number 3 first and then come back and do the first and then do the second. They were all linear and consecutive.
Usually Scream Parks are ones where you can kind of choose where you want to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
You was going to say something, Brian?
I was actually going to say the last thing you just said. In my mind, multiple attractions means I can see those different attractions in any order I choose.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true too. That's what we consider as like being a real multiple attraction facility.
Yes.
Another thing I will mention about them, because we have seen this before and it fits here. If you know for sure you're going to a haunt with 4 haunts, you might, and if you don't feel like you saw 4 haunts, you might kind of ask that before you leave. We go to one where they have multiple levels of haunts. The first haunt and the second haunt are on the first floor. The third haunt actually takes place on the second floor. And if you come out of the second haunt and you don't realize that you didn't go into the third haunt, there's the door right there so you can leave. A lot of people leave and don't even get to see the third haunt.
Yeah.
So the next one on the list would be a trail, and we classify these as pretty much anything that's not indoors exclusively. It could be out in the woods, even if they have like walls and things like that, as long as it's an open air roof and there's not like walls just built inside of a warehouse or something, If it's actually outdoors, then we'll call that a trail sometimes. Unless they do it really well, because that like at 13th Hour up there, I don't think we necessarily call it a trail, even though it takes place outside. Yeah. But they do a very good job of making you think you're inside when you're going.
Well, and it's on all gravel too. It's not like out in the woods.
True, it's not a dirt
path. There are hybrid types too when you get into that. Thinking about like Haunted Overload, where it is mostly outside. It is definitely by definition a trail. You're walking on a trail through the woods, but you do go into buildings.
Yes. There's several of those that we've seen, and normally we will still call those a trail if they begin and end outside, and they just have you go through some buildings. We'll technically still call those a trail, but yes, there are some that could be classified as some kind of hybrid that will make you go through some buildings.
And for some reason, they're out in the woods, so that's probably why, and it's creepy out there, but trails do tend to be darker. So if you have terrible eyesight at night, they may not be very good for you, because you might get, complain about not being able to see where you're going more than you would a normal indoor haunted house.
Yeah, some are better than others at actually lighting up their trail to where you can literally see where you're going. We've seen some that just have like a shop light hanging in a tree every 100 feet or so, and it's like totally pitch black in between and no actors or scares or nothing. And it's like, wow, this is not great.
However, me and Tyler have really good eyesight, so we can see, but I couldn't imagine being somebody that doesn't and having them go through there. They're probably going to end up not where they're supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So just be mindful. That's a thing with trails, is they are very dark and outside, and you might be stumbling over tree roots and things. So wear proper footwear, which we'll talk about all that stuff later on too. But the last haunt type on the list is year-round. Yes, there are some haunted houses that are open year-round. One of the most well-known ones are the Mysterious Mansion down in Gatlinburg. There is Mortem Manor down in Kissimmee, Florida, which is very close to Orlando, if you don't know where Kissimmee is. There's Raven's Grin Inn up in the northwest corner of Illinois. That's fantastic. If you've not had a chance to go to Raven's Grin yet, go. Make sure that you're able to go there while you still can, because the owners...
Once they open.
Yeah, once they... Yeah, definitely. Next chance you get, book yourself a tour at Raven's Grin. You will not regret it. As long as you like old school Halloween storytelling type of stuff. It's not super scary, but it's very whimsical, I guess. It's just the guy taking you through his house, like he actually lives there. And like he'll be holding the flashlight under his face and telling spooky ghost stories, and he's got all these contraptions built in the house, and yeah, yeah. But anyway, there's the shameless plug for Raven's Grin. Definitely get a chance to go there whenever you can. Any of these types that we've mentioned above could be high tech or old school. They could also be touch or no touch. So as you're browsing which type of haunt to go to, definitely check out any information you can and find out which ones are most appropriate for your comfort level with touching. And if you're looking for a super fancy high dollar or high wow factor haunt, or if you're just looking for something that's kind of old school and but more simple. Sometimes those are scarier than some of the high-tech ones. So it's all about what you're looking for and what you're able to go to. So
yeah. And so now that we've talked about these different types of haunts, now that you know the distinction between all of them, you're probably thinking to yourself, that's great, but where am I going to go? And so that's our next thing, is picking out which haunt specifically you want to go to. And that's where our website, thescarefactor.com, comes into play, right?
We do have a great website to help you find all of this information.
Yes, absolutely. You go to your state and you can pinpoint on the map where you live. You go, okay, well, I know I live about here, so hey, look, there's one right over there. And you click on it, it'll take you, we got links to their websites and all that good stuff, and you can find everything you need to know about that haunt. But that's the first step, I think, is figuring out where am I going to go. What haunt am I going to go see? And once you figure that out, the first thing you probably want to do is go read their frequently asked questions page, because you've probably got questions and they've probably been asked before. So, you definitely want to go check that out, and it'll tell you all the basic things you need to know about seeing their show specifically.
Yes, most of them do pretty good about having some kind of description on their homepage. And you can kind of decipher like what exactly kind of a show that you're going to get just by looking at that, and kind of how the website is made and that sort of thing. But then once you're done on the website, head on over to their Facebook page or Instagram, whatever they are using mostly, and browse through some of those photos, look at some of their actors. By way of that, you can also kind of see like what their scenes are like and different things, and if they're the type of haunt that touches, or if they're going to be chasing you around with chainsaws or dumping bodily fluids all over you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right. And read the reviews there too,
Yes.
See what other people are saying.
Absolutely.
And so once you've done that, maybe you want to answer the question of, why are you choosing this particular haunt? And a lot of times it's because, Jimmy Bob down the street went and he said he didn't get scared, so now I got to go because, like...
Challenge accepted, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, because Jimmy Bob's a pussy, so, if he didn't get scared... now I got to go see the show, and I got to see just how bad this really is. But, on the other hand, too, if you're getting a recommendation from somebody like, say, one of us, and we're saying, oh, my God, this was the scariest haunted house I'd ever seen in my life, now you got to go see it, because, none of us really get scared.
So if we're saying something scary...
Except for Nora, because, like, if there's even a mention of spiders, she's shaking her boots, so...
Yep.
It's very true. Well, we both of us got scared at a haunt here just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it's definitely possible to scare us. Maybe not as easily as most normal folks. But
hell, I screamed my head off at that haunt you and Brian went to.
Yes, you did.
I looked at that actor and he screamed, and I screamed back at him, I think 3 times as loud as he screamed at me. I thought, wow, I haven't screamed like that in a haunt in a long time, but that's great.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so that's one reason that you might want to go see a haunt. Or maybe you're just saying you want to go see it because it's so close to the house.
Yeah, but always have a reason why, or feel like you connect to the haunt. Like if it's a hayride and you don't like hayrides, then don't go.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're not going to have a good time if they're putting on a show that you already don't like.
Exactly. That's why we talked about the types of haunts first, is because that should at least broadly narrow down this kind of attraction that you're looking for.
Yeah, right. And each haunt's got its own style. So, some of them may be a little more family friendly. Like the one I worked at, they do a thing where you get a candlestick and it's a low scare, no scare kind of walkthrough. So if you're bringing kids, the younger ones, and they still want something a little spooky, at least a little more than, the happy scarecrows you see at the pumpkin patch, maybe something like that's a good step for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I really preach when, because a lot of times we'll get people asking us directly, hey, which haunt do I go to? This is where I'm at. I'm not sure where to go. There's so many haunts. I don't know how to choose. And we're like, well, have you read our reviews? And they're like, no. Well, I'm like, well, start there. But it's not just that, because they all say they want to go to the scariest one and all this, that, and the other. Well, we break it down by category and we talk about the scare factor score. But even if, like say you are looking for a haunt that you want to take some kids to, and you're looking at these scare factor scores, you might want to look at one that has a lower scare factor score. And even if it's not as scary to somebody else, it might be perfect to take somebody to that isn't used to haunts, or it's a good starter haunt, something like that. So just because they've got a high scary score doesn't necessarily mean it's the haunt that you're looking for. You got to take the whole picture into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as a side note, I was just thinking about this. I'm sorry, this is way off topic, but in our reviews where we talk about minutes per dollar, can we actually change that to booze per buck?
Booze per buck. I like it, actually.
I do like it as well.
We will have
Sorry,
to consider
it was a fleeting thought. I had to get it out.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Booze per buck. I'm writing it down.
So after you figured out where you're going, what haunt specifically, and why you want to go, how do you get there? They've probably got a street address, unless it's literally Satan's house. And if that's the case, like, you got to call a special group of people. They got to do this whole ritual. You got to find a virgin. It's just more work than it's than
there might be digging involved. There might be sacrifices involved. It does get messy really quick.
I'm telling you, yeah.
We wouldn't know.
But no, none of us would know. But most of them probably have a street address, and they probably got it right on their website. But important thing to note about that is, before you leave the house, copy that street address and put it into Google Maps. Where does that pin drop? Does it drop on Terror Town Haunted House? Because if it doesn't, you need to figure out what's going on. I'm going to follow the magenta line here, and it's going to take me somewhere.
Right.
But is it taking me to where I want to go? So if that pin doesn't drop on that haunted house, you need to figure out why.
And trust us when we say this, because a lot of times your GPS loses signal when you're out by these attractions that are out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, it does. And here's another good tip, and we didn't write this one down. I just came to the realization. Download your maps.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can do this in Google Maps. It's super easy. I know they've hidden it, in the recent past, but you can still download Google Maps for offline use.
Yes, you can. Highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
And like he's saying, double check, make sure that business is actually at that address. So yeah, you can Google the haunt's name, or put in, and hope that you get a crapshoot and it shows up on Google Maps, or you can copy their address from their website and paste it in. But then if you copy an address and paste it in, it gives you a list of businesses at the bottom of Google Maps, and that haunt may or may not be listed under there. Right. If it's not, I would say there's probably less of a chance that they're actually at that address. Usually, Google makes it really easy to verify where you're located as a business. So if they haven't done that, at least double check and make sure that they're giving you the same address on social. So cross-reference with their Facebook page, just basically just making sure you have some kind of double verification that they are where they say they are.
And if you're still lost and confused, if they're on Facebook or wherever, you can always send that business a message. You can send a message to their page and say, hey, I couldn't find you guys on Google Maps. Could you give me some better directions?
Exactly.
And they'll be happy to direct you in the right path, because they want your money. Like, they're a business. That's their end goal.
They want people to come see their stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. They want you to come.
Scare
They
you.
want, yeah. So now that we know where we're going and, geographically speaking and how to get there, maybe we need to know a few things, right? And I've got a good story about this after we give the little introduction. So, touch or no touch, and you should know the difference. Absolutely, 100%.
Some haunts will touch you, some haunts do not touch you, and with all of the COVID stuffs going on, it's important for you to pick an attraction that is consistent with your comfort level.
Right, especially, last year and this year and probably next year because, we still have millions of people that can't do the right thing. But whatever, that's not for this show. So like you need to know, read their FAQ page, right? What does it say about touching? Does it say we will not touch you? If that's the case, great, awesome, have a good time. If it says we will touch you, all right, just know that going in. But then there's going to be, to what extent are you touching? Is it going to be, a little tap on the shoulder, or they play with your hair a little bit, or are they going to grab you and drag you into another scene?
Exactly.
Are they going to dump fake blood on you and stain your clothes? Are they going to put you in an Iron Maiden and make a spectacle out of you? Like, you need to know these things.
Are they going to put you in a guillotine and chop your head off and use you as a prop for the next group?
I don't know if they're going to do that, because then they don't get my money again.
That's true. It's not a good idea. Can't say I've seen it actually happen in a Halloween haunted attraction, but I've heard stories over in like Paris, something like that. That used to be a thing.
Yeah. There's the story about like the Florida haunted house that was like they were killing people and nobody noticed or something. I think it was a myth. But yeah, so I have a story about this. So a haunted house that reached out in 2019 for a review. I contacted them this year, and I got to work out what date I'm going. But their website is very like, this is CNY's most energetic, in your face haunt. If you don't like hands on in your face, don't come to this show. And I'm like,
kind of vague, sounds like.
Yeah, it's the really hyping the show up, and I don't like, this borderline extreme sort of show. I mean, like, I understand it has its place, and I'm all for that, because I think that, the haunt industry needs to progress, and that's probably the direction it's going to progress, but, that's not the show I necessarily want to go see. I got a day job, so, like, I don't need to be walking into work on Monday morning bruised and bloody and looking like I was actually kidnapped.
Right.
So, I contacted the haunt owner and I said, hey, so, I need to know what extent you guys are touching and what, because your website says this, but I need to know I need some more details. Mm-hmm. And, he set my mind at ease, and he says, look, all things considered, we're actually on the lighter side of, when we touch people. And I was like, all right, like, I'm totally cool with that. And as long as I know that that's the case going in, I'm A-okay. But I don't want to go in thinking like, oh, they're going to play with my hair and I'm going to get a tap on the shoulder and maybe get spun around or separated from my group. And then in reality, I'm strapped to a chair and I'm being waterboarded while they're dumping fake blood on me.
Right.
So, like, I don't need that, especially when I'm not expecting it.
Right.
I appreciate being a little vague and building some suspense about your show and stuff, but there's some things that customers would really appreciate knowing about ahead of time.
Right. You need to be upfront about that sort of thing.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Especially like you said, the last year and this year.
Yeah. And then there's, just various other things, that you need to know about. Are you going to have to navigate a set of stairs or a nearly vertical ramp, like at Haunted Catacombs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a very steep ramp.
God, and none of us were expecting it either.
They did have the little sticky tread sandpaper type strips on there.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, but they scared on top of that ramp and in the middle of going down it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that was That was nuts.
It's pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just little things like that
can tell
you might want to know about.
Yeah, that can tell you what kind of footwear you're supposed to be wearing. You can pretty much always bet on not wearing flip-flops. Flip-flops are never a good idea.
No,
we've
don't
seen
wear
haunted
those.
houses that have basically wallpaper made out of flip-flops where people run out of their flip-flops so often. So unless you're fine with losing them at the haunt, just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't wear them. Don't wear flip-flops.
No, unless you're me, and then I just go barefoot because I'm ready. Pull my nails off before I leave the house to get in the mood. And
nobody wants to slip on your toe jam, Brian.
Well, there's no toe jam if I don't have any toenails left.
It's between your toes. It grows between your toes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that stuff that was under the toes when you pull the nail off the first
time. The black stuff?
Come on now.
No, I snack on that before I leave. Like I said, I got to get in the mood.
Oh, gosh. My mind is trying to tell me what that smells like, and I'm like, no, don't go there.
Yeah, if anybody listening has ever actually pulled a nail off of their finger, you know the goopy crap that's underneath that I'm talking about.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to keep all my nails on there.
I've never done it personally, but the internet is a wild place.
I am not gonna go look that up.
If you went and Googled that after listening to this podcast, please comment below and tell Nora what your findings were.
Yes. and then after you've done that, go ahead and Google the gauntlet, and
Lord,
you'll know it when you find it. And please comment below what your highest score is, because I've made it all the way through.
Oh wow!
What? Now I'm intrigued.
Curiosity's a
all right.
bitch.
Back to our original plan here.
So the next thing that you should consider when planning your haunted house trips is
when.
One of the other W's. Yes, it's when. When do you plan to go? You need to research their dates and their hours, and usually in these areas, ticket prices aren't too far away. I would say 80% of haunts are just open on the weekends, like Fridays and Saturdays. Some of them will throw in an occasional Sunday later on in October. But more and more haunts are starting to open up additional days. Some are open on Thursdays, Wednesdays, and some of your big mega haunts are open actually every day throughout the month of October. So definitely check their dates and hours. Don't just show up and expect them to be open at any given night. Some of them have, they'll open the doors at 7, but the haunt won't actually start until dark. That's pretty common with outdoor trails, that sort of stuff. But that also means there's probably going to be a line waiting to get in. So expect a little bit of a wait. Speaking of lines, just unless you show up 3 hours early, then expect to wait in a line, especially as it gets later on into the season. Haunted houses do try very hard to accommodate as many people as they can in a night, but they also want you all to have your own intimate experience. So there's some group spacing involved there, and you may have to wait in line as a result of that group spacing. It's just a thing with haunted houses. After that, start looking at what kind of ticket options do they offer. If you're going to try to go to more than one haunt in a night, see if they have Fast Pass or VIP tickets, as some of them like to call them. Some of these may or may not take you straight to the front of the line. They just might get you into a different line that is promised to move faster than the general admission line. Some haunts offer combo passes if they're a multi-attraction haunt. Like you can buy each one separately, or you can buy this combo pass and get all of them for a slightly less price. Those are usually a good way to go. And sometimes even those combo options have their own VIP fast pass options, so that's cool. Some of the touch haunts will allow you to opt out of the touching. That may require wearing a glow necklace or something of that sort, or vice versa. They might be a no-touch haunt, and if you wear this bracelet, you're allowed to be touched. You're consenting to be touched. You're expressing a desire to have a more intense show. So those are all options that some attractions offer. Not all of them, but they will generally make that known to you as you're doing your research.
And for years like this year, where we're going to have COVID precautions again, when you're looking at their websites, make sure that you're looking to see if they're still selling tickets on site, because some of these places will not be doing anything but online tickets only.
That's a very, very good point. If you've been going to haunted houses for years and you were not able to go last year, then you may not be aware of this, but a lot of haunts have transitioned into what is called timed ticketing. And like Nora said, you might have to buy your tickets online. You may not have the option to buy them in person. So, but most of them, they make that very easy for you. You picked an exact time slot when you want to show up. You'll get an email or some type of notification on your phone that you can show up with and show to the people there. Usually makes it contactless. And they'll get you right in line and let you know either by voice over the midway area there, or by text. Sometimes you can opt in with your phone number to get a text when they are ready for your group to come in. Some of them will allow you to wait in your car until you get that text, or some of them have the actual midway set up where you can run around and check out some of their like carnival games or different things like that while you wait. Just varies by attraction, but
that's our preferred method.
The time ticketing is definitely a thing. Did you say anything? What?
I was kidding. I was saying that's our preferred method, the wandering around the midway and not having to stand in a line.
Oh, yes, we've gotten to where we despise standing in lines, but
I think a lot of customers do, and the haunts know that. So
Right. It's a thing, though. So after you figure out which tickets you're going to get, yes, group discounts. If you're going with a big group of people that you know and trust, then you may be able to get an even cheaper ticket. A cheaper ticket option by way of group discount. So see if they have any of those as well.
Usually the numbers are like 15 or 20 plus, I think, in a group will usually get something off.
You've got to have a big group to start getting into group discounts, but yeah. So next thing you need to know, along with where is it, as we did our Google mapping earlier, is how long does it take to get there? What sounds like a not so bad drive at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening might be a horrible drive at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning after you get out of the haunted house. So definitely keep that in mind. Have a plan to stop somewhere for a break and get some coffee or energy drinks, whatever you need to keep yourself awake and safe while on the road.
I would not recommend going to a haunted house and showing up anywhere within probably a half hour to closing, just because some haunts get dead and they close early. And if you travel 2 hours away to a haunted house and they're closed when you get there, you're going to be mad.
Absolutely. Some haunts, if they're not doing very many people in a particular night, they will absolutely shut their doors early. So do try to get there in plenty of time before they close. It's actually ideal that you show up in time to be there and through the haunt before they close. So do try to plan for that.
Well, and the other thing to note there, too, is when they say note their closing time, generally speaking, now this isn't always, but what I found mostly is that when they say we close at 10, what they mean is their ticket booth closes at 10. So you can't buy new tickets after that time.
Right.
But also getting there early is just being courteous to the haunt and the actors and everybody that's there on site, because I can't tell you how many times working in a haunt, it'd be about 10:30, and we know that the last group is just about coming through, and we know okay, it's about time to go, and so you kind of get that feeling of relief, oh my god, I can take this 80-pound mask off and pour my sweat out, and I can go get a hot dog or a hamburger or something and relax by the fire for a few minutes. And then your supervisor comes through and says, hey, we just got a radio call, there's a group coming in 20 minutes. They're driving 5 hours to come see us, so we're going to stay open for them.
Oh boy.
It's like, are you kidding me? They knew how long it was going to take them to get there. and they couldn't have been bothered to leave earlier.
Right. Well, maybe they had to leave work or something. I totally appreciate that. I would be torn between excited that somebody drove 5 hours to get to my haunt, but yeah, at the same time, shrug, be like, well, shit, that means we got to stay here for another hour until these people go through. Yeah.
And like even then, if it's one group, let's say it's a family of 4 that's coming, right? Like, how much are you bringing in ticket sales from those 4 people versus how much are you paying to keep your actors in places and continue to pay them for that extra hour? Because it seems to me it's less economical to stay open.
It would seem so, but in theory, they've had enough people the rest of the night to.
Yeah, that's true. They can cover that loss, and it's not that big of a hit. But still, I mean, if I showed up at, Walmart, well, Walmart stays open all night. I don't know, if I showed up at the grocery store an hour after they close, and I said, but I drove 5 hours to get here, you know what they tell me? Maybe you should go to one that's closer to your house.
Right.
Yep.
They don't care that I need food.
They're gonna say we open tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Yeah, right. They don't care. So it's, on one hand, I get it. These people have driven so far because they wanted to see my show specifically, but at the same time, like, you knew well enough what time we closed and what time you needed to be here. It's one thing to say, hey, we're going to be there like 10 minutes after your closing time. Okay, fine, whatever.
Actually, no, they didn't know because they didn't listen to this podcast.
Ah, that's true, yeah. But it was on the website, and they bought tickets on the website. So
that's a very good possibility. Yes, they should have done their research.
Yes, they.
Well, actually, they did know when it was closing because they called and told them that they were going to be late.
Yeah.
So they're like,
so that's
maybe they'll stay open for us. So they knew full well. Assholes.
They knew full well.
We are guilty of that. We've been 2 minutes late to a haunt before and called them and asked them if they were staying open, and they were like, no. But the bad thing is they were like, well, how come you're coming here so late? And we were like, well, we went to X haunt down the road first. And they're like, oh, that's where you fucked up. You should have came here first because they suck. And once they told me that on the phone, I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to go back to that haunt or ever go to it,
Oh, well.
But, yeah, kind of lost interest at that point.
Yeah. So that's that's the first thing is, the 5 W's and knowing all that good stuff. So now we get into some other stuff, and the big thing here is know your limits. And the 2 big things that stick out in my mind anyway are if you get really violent when you get startled or scared, maybe don't go to a haunted house in the first place, because like, this is not the experience for you.
Right.
But, maybe you're looking for something a little spooky around Halloween time. I get it. Go to a no scare sort of thing, right? Maybe something that's only got props and animatronics, and there's not real people that will be harmed by your selfish inability to keep yourself under control.
If you lean towards the fight side of fight or flight, then yeah, definitely go for something less scary. Yeah, or less startly at least.
Yeah, and the other thing too is alcohol. Look, I am no stranger to taking a shot before going in a haunt. Especially if I'm feeling nervous for any reason or whatever, take a shot and calm your nerves. I'm all for it.
It doesn't require a 30 rack to calm your nerves.
That's true. It doesn't require a 30 rack of shitty beer, and then you to come through reeking like sewage pipes, talking about I've never seen a haunted house so bad in my life.
Oh my god.
Stumbling over yourself, slurring your words. Like, look, just don't be that guy, all right? Because nobody likes it. Nobody thinks you're cool. Everybody hates you for this, all right? Everybody thinks you're an asshole. So just don't be.
And some haunted houses actually offer alcoholic beverages on site, so you don't have to show up sloshed.
That's right. But again, even if they do offer beverages on site, don't have so many that that you couldn't get in the car and drive home in a reasonable state of mind.
Exactly.
Like I said, you want a drink before you go into calm your nerves? Great, awesome, I'm all for it. Have a good time. Don't have 7.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And as someone mentioned, haunts do cost a lot of money. Some of them do. And you kind of want to remember what you paid for.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
You know?
So some last little tips here that we want to make sure we throw in before we get completely out of time is rule number one, read the rules. Rule number two,
follow them.
Follow them.
And follow them.
Yeah.
Number 3, if you're feeling sick, stay home.
Yes.
I cannot stress this enough, okay? Especially with last year and now this year and probably next year. I don't care what your stupid, idiotic, conspiracy-driven mindset on COVID is. If you are feeling sick and you've got so much as a sniffle, stay home. Don't be selfish. Stay home. Your ticket is probably good all season.
It really doesn't even have anything to do with COVID or any of that stuff. Like,
Right.
that's how cold and the flu, the colds and the flu and any other kind of airborne, contagious
Right.
viruses or anything like that is spread. Just nobody wants your funk. Keep it to yourself. Stay home. So some other pro tips we have are show up early in the night or on a less busy night, such as earlier in the season. Haunted houses generally refer to the weekend before Halloween as Hell Week. That's when everybody's getting in their haunted house visits. Most people are usually doing Halloween parties or something like that on actual Halloween weekend, but a lot do still go to haunted houses. But the weeks before Hell Week and actually Hell Week and sometimes that first or second weekend of October are incredibly busy, especially if they open in September. So definitely show up earlier in the season. That helps you avoid longer wait times in line. So take advantage of that. Or if you must go later on in the season, maybe you didn't realize you were going until a day or two ahead of time, then try to show up early in the night or try to book an earlier time slot. That is one benefit of the time ticketing is you really don't have to worry about when you show up. If you get the time ticketing slot, you're pretty well guaranteed to get in as soon as you arrive. So we really enjoy those whenever the haunts have them.
Absolutely, yep.
If depending on where you're at in the country, we're up here in the Midwest and Brian's in New York. It does get very, very cold towards the end of October. Dress appropriately. I don't know why, but inevitably, whenever we go to a haunted house, we'll be dressed up in Under Armour and our big heavy winter coats, and some teenage girl will be running around in super small shorts and flip-flops.
Yep.
I'm telling you, without fail, it's like teenage girls don't ever get cold.
No, I don't think they do. I don't understand how, but we see it every time. Don't recommend it.
Yeah. And on that note, be aware of the weather forecast.
Yes.
If it says it's going to rain, be aware of that if you're going to an outdoor attraction.
Yeah, a lot of trails are muddy and nasty, and lightning is a real thing. You don't want to be outside in a storm. So,
right.
And
I'll tell you something, nothing sucks more than walking through a haunt, slipping and sliding in the mud, while somebody's scaring you, and you're just hating life in every possible way.
Most haunts won't even open if it's going to be that bad, but some haunts are troopers, and if you're willing to show up and pay your money, then they'll stick it. They'll stick in there with you.
That's right. And also on that note, be prepared to be active. Not just slipping and sliding in mud potentially, but you may have to crawl or slide or jump over or crawl over something. You might even have to run. And if they tell you to run, it's probably in your best interest to run.
Yeah, because that's like a rule in most haunted houses is don't run. So, but we have been in a situation where if we didn't run, I don't know what would have happened to us. So
I don't know. We might not be having this discussion right now if you didn't.
We'd have been hit by a semi. Yeah. Not a real semi, but a semi in a haunt that looked real.
Oh man, I love those scares. It's like come out of nowhere.
We saw somebody put one on a wheelbarrow once. That way they could actually run and chase after us
This
with the.
truck
Oh, nice.
came after us, yeah, because the lady was like, "You better run," and I'm like, "Run? I'm not running." And she's like, "Yeah, you are." And then they put you between the truck and a fence or something. And
There's a cattle
yeah,
gate.
she literally, I think it was her, come right up on the back of our ankles, and I ran. Yep, this fat chick ran for sure.
You saw all three of us bailing over this cattle gate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be prepared, and you may be offered some snacks and beverages while you are in the attraction
Oh.
for a more immersive experience.
That's what they call that.
My favorite was in 2019, Demon Acres, the JoJo the Clown. He had a poopsicle,
Oh my!
and he had it on a toilet plunger that he had turned upside down. Or no, it wasn't a toilet plunger; it was a sink plunger. And anybody who's had to go to Home Depot to buy a plunger knows the difference. It was a sink plunger, not a toilet plunger. There is a difference. Go look it up. He had one turned upside down, and in the in the bowl section of it, he had something in there, and it was brown. And
I've seen this done before too. Yeah.
Yeah, he called it a poopsicle, and he said you want some poopsicle, and I said sure, and it got close to me. I could smell it smelled like chocolate, so I'm guessing it was like chocolate ice cream or something, just based on the consistency, and it was running down the handle. So
we saw this one actor afterwards, and we're like, "What in the heck did you have in that plunger?" And she said it was Nutella.
Yeah, Nutella is probably a better option because it'll
She's
keep its
licking the
consistency
crap
all night.
out of it. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would be too. I love Nutella.
It's like, oh my god, it's horrible looking in the haunt, but yep.
Yeah.
We have also been fed the jelly bellies that are like dirty socks and vomit. And
the Birdie Bots every flavored beans. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because Jelly Belly did the thing when Harry Potter came out, and they did the really gross ones. They did like boogers or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a few of them, and when you put those in a haunt, like I don't know, a quarter of the way through, you literally have that taste in your mouth all the way through the haunt because you can't have anything to drink. It was terrible.
Oh yeah.
We've also gotten vinegar and something that they told. Something that they told us was Fireball. I'm pretty sure it was apple cider vinegar straight.
It was not Fireball.
Oh.
Fireball would have been much better than what we actually drank, for sure.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that.
Yeah. Good tip: leave your personal belongings in the car or at home. Make sure everything that you have on your person is secured in a pocket, preferably one that buttons, snaps, or zips. Because you might be doing some acrobatics in this haunt, and you don't want anything really falling out. Car keys, wallets, phones, that sort of thing. Make sure it's secured pretty well.
And when you lose them in the haunt, don't get mad at the haunt when they won't let you go back in and look for it, because they have to shut down their entire show to do that.
That's it right there. So and then on the note of your phone, in case of a long wait, charge it. Right? Nothing sucks more than standing in a long queue line and you just hate the people that are around you. Because we've all been there. Everybody around you is a complete total fucking moron, and you're like, I want nothing to do with these people. And if your phone's dead, guess what? No fun. I say that with the exception of if you go to a very particular haunt that is in upstate New York that is known for having a hearse ride, and if you have your phone out in the queue line, they'll scream at you. And I've told this story before, and like, first of all, no, fuck you. Second of all, who the fuck do you think you are?
You should want people to have their phones out, taking selfies and broadcasting your haunt. Yeah.
Right. You want people to be putting this out on social media. Hey, I'm here at such and such haunted house, and I'm in line for the house, and you want people texting others and telling them, hey, get out here, come see this.
They can't do that if you won't let them have their phones out.
Exactly.
Outside the haunt, obviously, not inside.
So yeah, you can have your phones out while you're outside the haunt. Don't have your phone out when you're inside the haunt. And that includes your
Yes.
flash. No cheating. If it's dark in the haunt, that's intentional. They don't want you to have lights. They don't want you to be able to see where you're going. And most of them are actually very, very good about not putting anything dangerous in your way when it's very, very dark.
Correct.
They might put little fishing string or pool noodles or something to kind of make you think something's grabbing you, that kind of thing. And it generally works pretty good when it's pitch black and you can't see. Or it might be real people reaching out to grab you.
Right.
But,
and then every so often, if you got your phone out because, oh, I can't see, it's so dark. Yes, I know that's the point. Every so often, there's an actor like me who will grab that phone out of your hand and return it to my manager.
mm-hmm.
You can have this at the end of the night.
Right. It is against the rules. Also, if you scare particularly easy, or if you're going to a haunt that promises messier experiences, bring a change of clothes. And with the former example, you might soil the clothes all on your own without their help, depending on how well they scare you. They usually refer to that as code yellow or code brown. They highly pride themselves in getting those types of achievements out of you when you go through their room. Brian was telling us about some incentives one of his haunts had before the show started. What was it?
Yep. The owner said, if anybody can get anyone to poop their pants, I will buy you a steak dinner and give you $50 cash.
Right. It's pretty good incentive to get a code brown. So yes, bring a change of clothes. Usually you can have like some type of a bug out bag with you. Something that has like hand sanitizer, facial wipes, paper towels, things like that. To where if you do get some blood or somebody rubs up against you and they've got something on them and it transfers over to you, you'll have a way to wipe it off.
The other thing you want to put in there too is a Tide to Go pen. You know the ones I'm talking about. I think other companies make them now too, but I carry the Tide brand ones, and it's like it's about the size of a marker or a highlighter.
Right.
It's got it's got laundry detergent in there, and you put it on there and you rub it around, and it takes care of little stains. And I carry one all the time because you can dress me up, but you can't take me out, and I get everything I eat all over me.
Same here.
Oh, don't forget to take bug spray if you're going to an outdoor haunt. Yes, bugs are a real thing, especially earlier on in the season while it's still warm.
Yep. Mosquitoes suck.
Literally.
Yeah. My favorite thing to do is if you catch a mosquito landing on your arm, pinch up the skin around it and watch them blow up.
What?
Yeah. So if you can overload them with blood while they're feeding on you, you can make them explode by, giving them too much at one time.
Wow.
Oh, it's great. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
I'll have to try that next time.
Yeah. You gotta be quick though, because as soon as your hand gets near them, they take off. But if you can get it, it's awesome. So changing gears a little bit on these tips, be respectful. We've touched on this over and over again throughout these other ones, but just remember you're paying to be scared and have a good time. Don't go in talking trash. Don't abuse anyone. Don't threaten to hit anyone. Play along with it, right?
It's their job to scare you, yeah.
It's their job to scare you, make you feel uncomfortable. So, if it seems like you're being singled out, there's probably a good reason for it.
Right.
But, play along. Get that patter going back and forth. I'll tell you, nothing sucks more as an actor when you try to get a back and forth going with a patron and they want nothing to do with it.
Right. It's meant to be an interactive show. If you get an actor walks up to you and starts poking fun or, trying to give you or your group a little bit more attention, absolutely roll with it. That's one of the things me and Nora absolutely love about all the haunts that we go to is that we do get to interact with all the actors. And like we're always looking around waiting for one of them to come up to us, because that just means we're getting a better experience. Take advantage of it and do some of that ad-libbing back and forth with them. Makes for a whole lot better time,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Turns out the actors don't like it when you scare them, though.
Right. And leave the can I get your phone number and stuff to a different time.
Oh, God.
Don't do that in a haunted house.
Wait until they're out of character and out of costume. If you see that cute chick and she's, the haunt's closed and there's people still lingering, maybe still not a great idea to just walk up and be like, hey, you're really attractive. But, that's probably the most appropriate time to say hello and introduce yourself to somebody, not while they're in character.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, wait till after. Wait till after.
Yeah, so let's see, what are the other things? Conga lines. Can't avoid them, really.
So our biggest thoughts on this, they are pretty difficult to avoid, especially if enough things go wrong, but there are some things that you as a group can do.
No. First, we should probably explain to the audience that may not realize what a conga line is.
So a conga line is when you get basically one huge, massive line of people all going through the haunt at the same time. Mm-hmm. You see this a lot in some of your bigger attractions. They might intentionally start you off in separate groups, but they know that everybody's going to run into each other when they get through there because, number one, either they're super busy, people are actually getting really scared going through, and everybody just runs and catches up to the group in front of them. And there's always going to be that one actor that stops somebody and wants to give them a really good treatment, and it just backs up the whole haunt. And therefore, you have a conga line.
Some haunts also don't know how to scare forward, kind of like in that instance. But you'll have some actors that are all just pressed on keeping people in the room or scaring backwards. And by scaring forwards, we're meaning keep patrons moving towards the exit of the haunted house.
Yes.
If they're doing their job, they know how to keep all the groups separated and all of that good stuff. But inevitably, you're going to run into a conga line issue if you go to very many haunts at all. And some of the things you can do to help prevent those is if you see yourself catching up to a group that you don't know who it is, slow down a little bit. Some haunts space their groups based on where they're at in the haunt. So, if it takes you longer to reach to a certain spot, then they won't let the group behind you go until you get there. So if you're going slower, then it cues them to know that things are getting backed up in the haunt too.
Right. And I think Haunted Hoochie has some built-in mechanisms to deal with this sort of thing.
Yeah, they'll intentionally stop you 2 or 3 times as you go through and put on a big skit for everybody, and then that kind of. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, you'll get 3, 4, 5, 6 groups all in this one room while they're doing the skit, but then they'll break you loose after that. And so even though it's a little clumpy, it's still kind of conga line-y and somewhat separates you. But
Hell's Gate and Statesville Prison also have their own method for doing the same thing.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
They do a much better job of it, I think, because they still keep you in your group as you're doing the show. They don't just mix and mash you all together. And then they'll release you only with your group in the regular intervals again. So even if you do catch up to somebody, it's not for very long before they split you up again. Very good design.
Yeah.
And vice versa, if you see a group catching up behind you, you might pick up the pace a little bit because you might be going too slow.
Or like in golf, let them play around.
Let them play around.
Let them go past you. There's been enough times where I'm in a haunt and I want to stop and just look at a scene for a little bit, and the group behind me catches up. Hey, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, me and Nora have done this a bunch because it's our job to absorb everything in the haunt, and just our little bit slower reviewer pace, it's pretty easy for a lot of groups to catch up to. So yeah, we'll just get ourselves over in the corner and let them go around.
Yeah, and then they look at you like, what, are you going to scare me now? And no, but if you don't keep moving, I will.
Can get pretty scary.
All right, and the last thing too is just bring some cash, right? You don't need a whole lot. You don't need $300-400. You're not trying to buy the place from the owners, but you do need enough to buy some food from the concessions, or you want some stuff from the gift shop. I mean, who doesn't want a whole collection of shot glasses from every haunt they've ever visited? you only need maybe $40-$50 on you. You know, you want some hot cider, which
Right.
that is my favorite thing to get.
We don't even get that down here. I don't get it.
I'm
I don't
so
understand it.
aggravated. Nobody ever has hot cider around here.
No,
Kidding
it's
me.
always hot chocolate and soda and Monster, but no cider.
I don't mind the hot chocolate so much, you know, but it's like coffee is one of the things a lot of them sell, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, I don't need no coffee.
The cider must be a New England thing.
I think it is for the most part. I think it's yeah, I've never really seen it anywhere else. But yeah, you know, just $40-$50, it's really all you need, especially if it's only one or two of you. Maybe a little more if you plan on buying a hoodie, because those generally run to $35-$40 a piece. But
another thing that you might need cash for is parking, which we didn't mention this earlier, but that's generally something that a haunt will tell you on their website. They may charge for parking, so be prepared for that.
Yeah, don't assume that it's free unless you see something that tells you it's not.
Yeah, bring a couple $5 bills, especially for that. And if you don't need them, you don't need them, but you know, have them ready to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's it. So this is, like we said at the beginning, this was the last episode of the season 1 of the podcast. It's been a great season. We've learned a lot of things about doing podcasts, and you know, it's not over for the year. We're still going to have little bits and bobs here and there. I think I'm going to try to do some stuff in the coming weeks, but you know, no guarantees on that. So if you don't hear anything from us until after haunt season, you know, stay spooky and have a great time. You know, listen to this episode over and over, and you know the things that you need to know, and go have a great time at a haunt. And
we are definitely going to be trying to post something throughout the season, some type of regular haunt updates, where we've been, what our thoughts are, that sort of thing. Definitely check out the website for all of our written reviews. And we also have our YouTube channel where you can see the video portions of some of our stuff.
Yeah. So definitely look out for those and subscribe to us on the socials. I have been Brian with Team Skelligore.
This is Tyler and Nora with Team Zombillies.
And we are the Scare Factor.com.